Hello and welcome to the Living Life Differently podcast. We are the Mahojos. I'm Amy.
And I'm Ali, and we live in a static caravan on a farm in South Wales with our son Ollie and our dog Dizzy.
We're currently on a year off together, waiting patiently to get going on a European campervan adventure.
In the meantime, we decided to set up this podcast to share stories of women who are living life differently, women who are doing things different to the norm.
So if you're feeling a little stuck in life or need confidence to make some big changes, then keep listening as we have some brilliant guests.
In this episode, we speak with Natalie and Amanda, who are living full-time van life in Australia.
Listen as they tell us about how they got into van life and how they make money on the road. Enjoy!
We've been following you guys for some time now on your adventures. So just for people that are listening, tell us a bit about yourselves, where you're from and where you are in the world right now.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Natalie.
And I am Amanda from Brazil.
And I'm Australian. We currently live in Sydney, Australia. And we are travelling around our beautiful country in a converted ex-school bus, which is our tiny home.
Yes. Brilliant. And so how long have you been living in the bus for now?
So we've been living in our bus for coming up to a year and a half. And then probably about 9 months of that we've been travelling around Australia.
Fantastic. So are you in Sydney at the moment, or are you in another part of the world?
We are currently in Melbourne, actually. We just arrived here yesterday. We had spent the past 6 weeks in Tasmania, which is, if for those of you who don't know, it's like a separate state from Australia, kind of like a mini island at the bottom. So we had to catch a 9-hour ferry with our bus across. So we've just arrived back onto the mainland in Melbourne, Victoria.
Fantastic. Amy's visited Tasmania and's got some really fun memories of it, haven't you?
I spent almost a month travelling in a camper van. We weren't fortunate enough to have the funds to actually have a camper van. So we hired a budget van.
Yes.
And we went to the pub and we discussed our plan, what we were going to do. And then this woman was like, "Oh, I've got all this camping gear you can have." Yeah. So
wow.
So it was just amazing. The people in Tasmania were absolutely superb. And I had the best apple crumble of my life there.
Oh, yeah.
Delicious.
I haven't.
I made one actually, because while we were there, it's wild apple and wild blackberry season. So there's wild apples growing everywhere and blackberries like crazy. So I basically foraged them and made a delicious blackberry and apple crumble. It was really, really good, wasn't it?
Yes, so good.
Oh, guys, you're making me hungry. So tell us a bit about, I don't know whether to call it van life or bus life, because you call it a bus, don't you? So how did you get into that?
I guess the universal saying is van life, isn't it?
True, it is.
How did you get into it then? What was the decision to, or what was the motivation to say, right, we're going to get a bus together, convert it and hit the road?
So when we first met, which is coming up to 5 years ago, I actually had a little van that I had converted by myself and was planning to do a bit of a trip around Australia, not really knowing what I was doing, where I was going. And then 3 months before I left, I met Amanda and basically on the first date invited her to come with me to travel. Yes. And so we did probably, how long did we travel together for on that trip?
1 month?
Yeah, about a month. So we drove from Sydney to Adelaide, so across 2 states together. And I actually continued on driving across to Western Australia. Eventually, long story short, I came back to live in Sydney. We were together for a while doing weekend trips, and then we just felt like we outgrew the van. We were actually walking home one day and saw someone with a bus that had converted it. And on our way home, we kind of
let's buy a bus.
Yeah, because I think our main thing was we wanted to have the luxury of showering, having hot showers wherever we are, having the luxury of having a toilet convenient at any time. So I think a bus seemed more realistic in that sense, that it could fit all of that and we could live comfortably in an uncrowded space and call it home, not feel like we were just I guess feeling too claustrophobic. So that's how we came into bus life.
Yeah.
So what kind of facilities have you actually got in the van? You've mentioned a shower, but what kind of setup have you got for people that haven't seen the pictures?
It's really like a tiny home. We have pretty much everything.
Yeah.
We have shower, toilet.
We have a full-size fridge, so it's
an
upright 175-liter fridge. So we've got a freezer and the fridge.
Double bed, normal.
Yeah, normal size double bed.
Normal size double bed.
A dining area which converts into like a kind of like a big lounge area
the
as well.
oven also.
Yeah, we have a cooktop and an oven. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that your vehicle is tall enough to stand up in compared to some vans that are a bit more pokey.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, although we did have someone come and visit our van today who couldn't stand up.
But he was giant.
I think, it's probably I'm 172 centimeters. I don't know what that is in inches.
180, I think, because I am 172 and I still have a bit.
Yeah, so I reckon if you're above 6 foot, you probably couldn't stand up. That's why if you were that tall, you'd probably opt to go for the high top sprinters and things like that. So our bus caters height for most of, I guess, people that we come across. Yeah.
Yeah,
most normal people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned, on kind of when you guys first started getting together, you were like, "Hey, come away in my bus," and like really early on. So how did you guys meet then? How did you get together?
We actually met online. So through a dating app. So we pretty much connected, and within a couple of days we went out on a date, and it was the first date, and that was it went really well. And I was like, well, do you want to come traveling?
Yeah, we met Friday, and then I think from Monday we were like pretty much married.
Such a gay thing, but no, actually it was like that. Like honestly, it was like we had our first date, and then the next day she invited me to go to a friend's dress-up party, and then by Monday morning I was like, oh. But even on the first date, I was kind of like, well, I was traveling as a solo female, and I thought I never thought, but we just got along so well. And she had, how long had you been in Australia for? Maybe one and a half years. So she hadn't really seen much anyway. So I was like, well, let's just
get in. If you want to come with me? I was like, wow, yeah, sure.
Brilliant. And what was life like for you both at the time? Like, where were you living? What were you doing for work and stuff before you set off into the sunset together in the van?
We both are working with kids. So as a nanny.
Yeah, in childcare. And actually, just prior to meeting, I had never actually been with another woman, so I hadn't gone on any dates. I was just being with guys my whole life. So it was a big change for me to first be on a date with a woman, opening my heart to that sort of idea. But it was amazing because obviously we got along so well, and so that was kind of where we were at. We were living different sides. For those of you, if you've been to Sydney, there's the east and then the north. So there's a harbour bridge that kind of connects the two. So we were living opposite sides of the bridge. That's kind of
this is so cute, because it isn't just about bus life and living life differently now. This is like a little love story. This is so cool.
It is, yeah.
True.
So I spent about 9-10 months traveling around in Australia itself. Where have you been so far in Australia, and where's the places you're looking forward to go to next?
So together on our first little van trip, we travelled from Sydney, so across Victoria to South Australia, where I actually dropped Amanda off at the airport in Adelaide, and then I continued on across the Nullarbor over to WA, so Western Australia, and I travelled up the west coast all the way up to Broome, which is quite far up. So I've done WA. Amanda's done South Australia, Victoria.
Kangaroo Island.
Oh yeah, we also did Kangaroo Island, which is an island off South Australia. We had just recently done the East Coast. So we went all the way up to the Daintree Rainforest up in far north Queensland. And that for us was incredible. I don't know if you guys have done that area, but that was just memorable. It's such a magical place up there with such an ancient forest. And then it's amazing because you've got two World Heritage listed. Is it World Heritage listed places? Yeah, because you've got the Daintree, which is I think one of the oldest rainforests, and then you've got the Great Barrier Reef, and they're side by side. I think it's the only place in the world where two heritage listed places meet. So yeah, and then also obviously we've just been to Tasmania.
Yeah.
So that is pretty much everywhere except for the Northern Territory that we've been. I mean, Amanda hasn't done the West Coast, so will be doing that. That's our aim. So Northern Territory and WA is our next, I guess, destination.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Because Amy and I have been to Australia at different times in our lives and with different people. And when you're feeling off the places, like personally, I've done. Let me think. I was in Melbourne for the Commonwealth Games, which was a while ago now. And Melbourne's such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Sydney for Mardi Gras. And then got one of those, I think it was, I don't know if they still exist now, but it was like $1 a day camper van. So you could take a camper van from one location back to another. So my partner at the time, we got a camper van in, I think it was Adelaide, and we drove it to Perth. So we went along the Nullarbor. I don't know if you want to tell people a bit about the Nullarbor and why it's so kind of iconic.
Yeah, so Nullarbor is Null Arbor, which means no trees. So it's like, I think the 80-mile straight drive where there's just flat, middle of nowhere, no trees. It's just a straight drive. It's actually through the south centre. So it goes across the Great Australian Bight. For those of you who don't know, it looks like someone's taken a bites out of the bottom of Australia. So yeah, it's interesting. There's no one to be seen and nothing around, and I think between each fuel stop it's about 2 hours. So you really got to be fuel wise on that trip. And I think as soon as you pass any car, you kind of wave crazily at the next person because it's probably the last person you'll see in the next couple of hours. And each fuel stop is also a restaurant, a caravan park, a hotel, a pub, a post office, everything in one, and a supermarket. Yeah, so it's kind of like it's a very interesting drive. A bit boring if you're doing it by yourself. There are some stops on the way that you can see, the cliff faces and things like that, but it's about a 12-hour journey, I believe, 12 to 15-hour journey. So you can usually do it in about 2 days if you really want to get it done quickly, or 3 or 4 days, depending on your time. So, yeah, it's interesting. And also when you cross over from South Australia to WA, you have to go through quarantine. So you can't bring any fresh fruit or veggies or plants or anything. It's to protect, I think, just the agriculture industry on the other side of Australia.
That's just brought back a really vivid memory for me, driving down the Nullarbor and seeing people sporadically. So we had this little pop-top camper, the one where you pop up the roof and you sit in it and then you pop it down and you drive off. So driving down the Nullarbor, people coming towards you and they flash you and you give them a wave, and the next car flashes you and gives you a wave, and then pulling into the next rest stop, someone was like, "Hey guys, you've still got your pop top open on your van." And you wonder why the fuel was going down rapidly, and there was another tank as well. There was like 2 petrol tanks. I don't know if that's a thing. Yeah. And turns out the pop top was still open, which was pretty embarrassing.
You thought people were just saying hi, but they're probably waiting. You're going, put it down.
Yeah, idiots. British idiots.
What's the biggest challenges you faced so far with living full time in the van or the bus?
Spending too much time together.
No, honestly, it's true though. I mean, we love each other and we do have a really strong relationship. But I think, when you live with someone, you go to work for 6, to 8 hours a day, come home, make dinner, and do those things together. And because we work from the bus as well, we don't have a lot of time to, spare part.
Time,
So
yeah.
I think it's more of an effort because we can go a day of working going, shit, I haven't taken that time for myself or just some space. So I think that has been a bit of a challenge, hey? In the nicest way. Her man is nodding at me with these wide eyes going,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so far so good. But it is the most challenging thing, I think.
I think that's it because we don't really face too many other.
Well, I miss my people and my friends and family in Sydney.
Yeah, having the home base and
yeah. Also, like having a bit of a routine, like wake up, go to the work, go to the gym, like have a routine. I think I miss a bit.
Yeah.
We don't have any routine. We just do.
We try though. We try and get our work done. Yeah, for most of the morning, and then dedicate afternoons for exploring or sightseeing and things like that. So we try and focus on, yeah. But that's obviously give and take of wherever we go and who we see.
Yeah, exactly. Like today we haven't done. Yesterday we haven't done.
Yeah. But I guess that's the good thing about the flexibility of the lifestyle you lead at the moment. And you mentioned work. So what do you do on the road to earn an income?
Yeah, so we really thought about this before we kind of took off. We wanted to make sure that we were able to earn income while on the road because our last trip that we'd done in the van was all on savings and we came back quite broke. So we were like, nope, we don't want to do that again. So yeah, do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I work with digital products and social and digital marketing, social media.
Yeah, so you've got a background anyway in IT. And yeah, we sell some digital products through Instagram, and also I work in social media, so managing a couple of accounts for businesses as well. And that's, we have some online courses.
And I do some mentorship also, like helping people come from offline to online. So whatever you have, a service or a product, and you want to sell online, and just help that people
help the steps towards.
Okay, so was that quite a big step for you guys to go from what you were doing before work-wise into like more of a digital nomad lifestyle, or were you already quite comfortable with that?
I am quite comfortable because back in Brazil, I worked like 7 years with IT, sales, marketing. So that was kind of my background. This is where I used to do in Brazil. When I came to Australia, I became like a nanny out of the blue. It wasn't my background, but because I couldn't speak any English, so I had to do whatever take me to eat. So yeah, so for me, it was super comfortable and easy. I mean, of course, have lots of challenges, but yeah, I'm used to the technology.
I think I probably struggle a little bit just because I'm quite a creative and an artist at heart. So I'm actually focusing on creating some more things to start selling at markets and things like that, which is what I love. I'm a resin artist as well as working in childcare back home. So we actually created our first digital product by creating an online course to teach people how to do the type of resin technique that I do in my art. So that was kind of our first project. So trying to digitalize what we did. So I do struggle a little bit in that sense, and it's not my, I guess, desire, my passion. However, it suits the lifestyle that we live at the moment. So I do kind of thank myself, give thanks that I'm able to have that sort of income online.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people that might be looking into van life at the moment, the what do I do about work is probably the biggest question, isn't it? And I see so many people doing so many different things away from the tradition of going to an office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Yeah, so I think COVID actually helped that as well, because a lot of people couldn't go into the office, so they had to kind of go online, and businesses learned how to change all of that. And I guess the internet is just bursting with ways that you can make money. You've got to sometimes be creative, but even there's so many jobs out there that you can do. I guess you've just got to really look and see.
Yeah.
But there's, jobs for everyone.
It's just being creative, I think.
creative in
and just
looking
for different things, you know, like you can build an online store, you can work with digital products, like be a virtual assistant, social media.
You can teach another language.
You can plenty of job.
Yeah. And in terms of other people that you've met on the road that may be doing similar things to you with the bus life, van life, have you been surprised at how kind of creative they've been with ways of earning income while they're traveling?
Not really.
Yeah, not really.
No, most of people just live on savings or just work in farms.
Yeah, okay. We do meet the odd van lifer that they do have a business. Like
it's not really common in Australia. Like out of like 10 people we met, 2 has business.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or have, because a lot of them, I guess, people are still warming up to the idea that you can make money online.
Yeah.
And because Amanda currently, because she's Brazilian, so her native language is Portuguese, so her target market is Portuguese speaking people, so her online courses in Portuguese, her ebook and things like that, the mentorships that she do. So she's currently trying to translate it into English. So I guess you could do the same to English speaking people.
Yeah. That's cool. So do you feel like you've found a nice balance with income against your expenditure for being on the road? You know, is it a comfortable way of life for you guys?
Yeah, I think what people don't understand is that it's actually a really cheap lifestyle. You know, when you're living a normal conventional life at home, so say we were paying $500 a week in rent living in Bondi Beach, Australian prices.
Just the rent.
So just the rent. And then you've obviously got all your bills that come on top, electricity, gas, water, phone bills, and Netflix and all of that. And, you know, we don't spend a fraction of that, so we'll probably spend
$450 per week.
$450 a week,
all up,
and that's including all our bills that we have, like internet for the bus, groceries, everything, petrol, everything.
Yeah, I guess that is one of the biggest pulls, I guess, towards van life, is to be able to leave all those fixed huge costs behind, like rent, like council taxes, water bills, electric, etc. And I think a lot more people, certainly in the UK, we're seeing a lot more people interested in van life and hoping to pursue that dream of van life as well for financial reasons mainly.
Absolutely. And I guess over there where you guys are, like, you have access to the whole of Europe, which is like a dream, you know. I think that's amazing. I mean, Australia is huge and it's beautiful, but to get it across anywhere.
So going back to the bus you're in now. Oh yeah, tell us about the name of your bus. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, so I don't want to get it wrong.
So it's pronounced Breezer. Breezer. But often people say Brisa because that's how it's spelled, Brisa. Breezer in Portuguese it's like an expression. It's kind of like to say, like, keep brisa, it's like take a trip, or like, are you dreaming? Or it's kind of like there
is no translation from brisa actually. It's like a word that I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of breeze sometimes. It's hard to translate. But
but it's kind
mainly
of like,
you're tripping.
Yeah, take a trip, are you dreaming? It's kind of like that theme. So Breeze of the Bus is what our home is called.
And what make is the bus? You know, people will obviously link into your social media channels so people can actually see it. But just describe it to people and tell us what make it is.
So it's a Toyota Coaster bus. So I think it's Japanese, So the Coaster buses are originally 22-seater. So it's about 7 meters long.
And in terms of the conversion, did you do all that yourselves?
Yeah, so my father and I did it. Amanda didn't really do. She was more focusing on business side of things. So my dad and I got it from a local school. Actually, was it from a mechanic that just bought it off a local school? He fixed it up. So when we bought the bus, we literally took the seats out. Well, the mechanic took the seats out for us. So he kept them because he's a bus mechanic. And we took it home as an empty shell. So probably the bus sat there for a couple of weeks and we were like, what the hell did we just do? We just bought a bus. And we, my dad's quite handy, but we didn't really know the ins and outs and what we needed to do, because here in Australia, I don't know what it's like over there, but you have to mechanically engineer the bus. So it basically becomes a motorhome. And with that label, it has certain guidelines and rules and things that need to be overseen by an engineer, a gas fitter, and an electrician. So they need to sign certain things off during the build, and then you kind of get it assessed. So we didn't know any of that before we started. So we were really in the deep. We kind of just researched and Googled and spoke to other people in Facebook groups that were doing the same thing or had done the same thing, and just kind of went from there. So we, built it up from zero, from an empty shell to our tiny home.
Yeah, it sounds like from what you said before, it's got everything in it that you need as well. Have you got any regrets about the layout? Anything that you do differently, or do you feel that you've nailed it with what you need for being on the road?
What do you think?
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, there's little bits and pieces like different material that we would have used here and there, or just things like that. But all in all, we're pretty happy, because our main goal was to really keep the space open and light and airy, and to make it not feel like we were really suffocating in there. And it's just amazing because we have windows all the way around. They're really dark. They have really dark tint on it, so no one can really see in, but we can see out quite well. And so there's just so much light in there. I don't think we really change any of the layout or setup or anything. No.
Yeah, I think that that's a bit of a fear for some people when they're first starting out on van conversions, is getting it right. But there's so much advice and guidance online now, isn't there, that you can go on YouTube, Facebook groups, whatever, and find out pictures and guides and
exactly.
whatever.
And we have an ebook that we wrote ourselves as well, because when we started the build, we had nowhere to look that kind of had everything in one place. There were bits in here, bits there, a website that said this or that. And so when we'd finished the build, we basically compiled everything that we'd learned and what you'd expect. So step by step, the things that you need to think about on your next move, on your next part of the bus that you want to build. So, and you can adapt it to Vanlife as well. So that's one of the products that we have. Actually, it's kind of our saving grace, and it has been for a lot of other people that just don't know where to start and just need some sort of guide. It's been great for others as well.
Yeah, brilliant. We'll definitely share a link to that as well, because I'm sure some people would be interested in seeing what you've done. So did you have a budget originally from when you bought the bus, and for converting it, did you set money aside and say, right, we're not going to go over this amount, or was it more of a work in progress?
We actually haven't. Hey.
No, we didn't have a budget. However, we did put a certain amount of money away per week. So we were really lucky. We didn't really have to dig into savings. We were able to both put aside money per week to put towards the build. We didn't know what we were getting into and what to expect. So obviously we tried to go the cheaper options in things, but in saying that we didn't want to skimp, because we wanted to live comfortably and have like a nice hot water system or a beautiful cladding on the ceiling and things like that. So I feel like in some we didn't really have a budget, but we tried to make it as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
And also my father was helping a lot in the build, so we didn't have to pay for any labor costs. It was just a labor of love.
Oh, no, I mean, we paid for the electrician and the plumber.
Oh, yes, those things. So the physical build, My dad helped a lot, and then for the plumbing and gas, we paid for a plumber, and so those things were a bit more expensive. But in saying that, everything was done with good quality.
Pretty much all up 30,000,
and that's including the bus.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have you had any mechanical issues along the way, and have you got like a budget in case something goes disastrously wrong? Disastrously wrong with the van.
So the bus that we have, the Toyota Coaster. So we've got an engine which is called the 1HZ engine, and anyone out there who's like a mechanical nerd, they're pretty much known as Toyota's bulletproof engines. So they use them a lot in the army and things like that. So they can go over 1,000,000 kilometers easily if you service them regularly. So we haven't had any hiccups. So we bought it with very little Ks on it anyway, as a school bus that didn't really travel very far. We've had one small hiccup on the road, which was just one of the slave cylinders in the clutch. But she runs like a dream. I actually also, before we left on our trip, I paid someone a case of beer to show me how to service our engine. So I'm able to service it, so change all the oil filters, fuel filters and things like that quite regularly, just to keep up the health of the engine. So then I'm also not paying a mechanic to do that for me. So as long as I stick to servicing it every 5,000 kilometers, our bus has been amazing. We touch wood, but haven't had any other issues go wrong at all. And we've traveled, half the country now.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Sounds like you made a good choice on the bus.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So in terms of full-time life on the road, do you tend to wild camp, stay in campgrounds? Is it a mixture of where you stay overnight?
Our main goal is we really try never to stay in anywhere that we have to pay. So unless we're staying in a national park, we have to pay. But yeah, we usually just sleep on the street. So I don't know. Here they call it stealth camping. So our bus is quite, I guess, original on the outside. It's just white, still got the original stickers on. So we kind of go quite unnoticed. We often just pull up somewhere quiet at night and just jump into bed. So we'd often, cook dinner, shower, brush our teeth, do all of that somewhere else, whether it's down by the beach or down by a park, and then we'll jump in the bus, drive up to a quiet street, jump into bed, then wake up in the morning and, drive somewhere else. So we often just stay on the street unless there's a free camp. We will, stay in the free camp, but we really, we've probably only paid for, I don't know how many campsites, maybe 5 maximum out of the whole year and a half that we've been in the bus. 5 camps, yeah.
Wow, that's a real cost saver, not having to pay for campsites and stuff. Yeah. So over here, there's, I guess, people do a bit of a mixture of wild camping or stealth camping, as you guys call it, but obviously depending on the location. So national parks, it's not permitted. Campgrounds, there's obviously lots and lots of choice, but I do get the feeling that, well, from our experience, when we've been in France, they are so much more geared up to people in motorhomes and camper vans. They've got the free areas that you can just rock up to and empty your facilities and stuff. In Australia, is it kind of less okay to be stealth camping, or is it just not that popular anyway?
It's just really, it varies state to state. So in New South Wales, you're actually legally allowed to sleep in your vehicle for up to 72 hours, unless you're obeying the street signs that say, no camping. And then in other states, you can't at all, although we still do, but we're really respectful. And major cities usually don't allow, they don't have facilities to dump the toilet, fill up water. However, when you go into country towns, you've got a lot of RV friendly towns. So they'll offer a place to dump your toilet, fill up your water. Often they have free camps as well. So then you kind of, it's a good initiative to spend money in the town, and you're not, paying $30-$40 a night on a campground, rather than, stay for free, spend money in the local store. So it really ranges state to state and city to city, country towns. I know in Sydney, where we lived, there was just no facilities to dump the toilet, fill up water, and things like that. And we're in Melbourne at the moment. I think there's one place around the city, but you have to pay $5. So yeah, it really depends. I think the smaller the city and town, the better they are with accommodating to people that are traveling.
Have you met any other women on the road who are kind of doing something similar, living life that little bit differently?
Yes, we actually did. We met lots of women. Ale, G, Ash. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Solo travelers doing by themselves. Yeah. They
popular.
Yes, the girls, they build their own vans. It's pretty common.
Yeah, and I guess because it's just so safe here as well. There's no second thought of danger at all traveling as a solo woman.
Sure. And those women that you do meet, are they kind of similar age to you, or some older, some younger? Is it quite mixed?
Mostly our age. Hey, there was a lady that had a bus like ours. She was retired and a lot older. Actually, we have met some women. Remember in Tassie, there was that woman that was a lot older, in her 60s or 70s. Most of them are our age. Some are older. But yeah, I think maybe we just connect with more women our age. They stand out more for us. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of your travel so far, has there been one place that's really stood out for you that you've been to in Breeza that you just think, wow, this is just mind-blowing? This is why we're doing bus life.
Oh, so many.
Well, places that we went to in Queensland.
Bowen was like that.
Oh yeah, actually that was amazing.
Yeah.
We went to a beautiful town called Bowen, which is, I think, the last. So you've got Airlie Beach, which is where the Whitsundays are. So it's just the top of the Whitsundays. A cute little town called Bowen, and it was just absolutely incredible. Beautiful. Stunning blue water and big boulders down by the beach. So that was probably
we felt like that many times, but now I remember of Bowen.
Yeah, that actually came up as well.
Yeah,
I think. And then the Daintree for me, because up there the forest was so beautiful.
Yeah, for anyone that ends up following you guys on Instagram, the pictures of the places that you've been are just so stunning.
I know.
I know it shouldn't compare to the UK, but you just see those bright blue waters and coastline, and it's just drop dead gorgeous. So
sunshine.
Beautiful. Yeah, sunshine. We miss the sunshine.
Yes. I know.
I think honestly, we just came from Tassie, and it was beautiful, but it was just a bit too cold for us, even though it was summer. When we were there, it was cold and raining a lot, and sometimes it just got so cold we didn't want to go outside. And I think honestly, where we've been so far, it was probably one of the less liked places that we'd been.
For sure.
I think it just was because it was a lot colder, and I think that's why we were more suited to Queensland and far north Queensland, because the weather was just stunning every day, and it was beach weather, and I think that's more suited for us and for bus life, because our bus is just I think we've got like 17 windows or something. So when it's cold, the cold just comes straight through the glass, and it's like crispy, and it's a little bit painful.
Yeah, I think that is a big consideration for anyone thinking of doing van life full time is, first of all, what's your van like in terms of, can it retain, the heat? What happens when it's really hot outside? Can it stay cool? But also, what you're gonna do when the weather's really bad, because potentially you're just shut up together in that tiny space. So
drink lots of tea.
Yeah, could drink lots of hot drinks. So, in terms of like your plans, then obviously your little bus can do up to 1 million miles by the sounds of it without any issues. So, what are your long-term plans for bus life? Is it something you see yourself doing for many years to come?
We're just really keeping it open. We don't really have too many plans, I guess.
We're just gonna keep until we're tired of
until we get sick. Our original plan was actually to do 6 months traveling Australia, going back to Amanda's home country in Brazil, spending 6 months there, doing a bit of travel. I actually just recently got my Irish citizenship, so we thought of maybe going to Europe, and so we were kind of playing it by ear, but obviously due to COVID we've been forced to stay here. So I guess we'd like, it's definitely not a bad place to be. So we've, I guess we're just keeping it open at the moment to see. Eventually we would like to settle down, or at least have, a property or a place that we can buy. That's probably our future short-term goal. And then to have, to continue traveling overseas. We've actually had a couple of offers for people that wanted to, swap homes. So their motorhome, say, what was the place like in New Zealand? We had an offer in New Zealand in London to swap their motorhome with our motorhome and just, do a bit of traveling on the other side of the world in each other's motorhomes. So that's probably our future plans.
Well, congratulations on getting your Irish citizenship.
Oh, thank you. It's actually crazy because my grandfather's from Ireland. I mean, he moved here when he was a little boy, but through obviously him, I was able to get it. And it's crazy because I got granted citizenship of the country and I've actually never been there before. So it just kind of blew my mind a little bit, but very grateful and that I have that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've probably seen in the media about Brexit and everything here, and that's going to affect our future travel plans, because now, whereas we could have gone to Europe and in the EU and spent as much time as we wanted to there, now with Brexit we can only spend a maximum of 90 days in any 180-day period. So that's really kind of thrown a spanner in the works for our travel plans. We should be in our van by now, traveling Europe, but obviously with COVID and everything. But from my side of family, I've got Maltese citizenship, and we've managed to get Amy citizenship as well. So the next step for us is to get Maltese passports, and then hopefully that will open up travel again for us, because that's been a real bummer, but that's just the way it is.
What advice would you give to anyone listening who's thinking about doing things the way you have, living full-time in a van, and what do you think are the key points that people really need to consider?
I think Leah, I would say to just start. People like normally just I will do one day when I get older, and then they never do.
And you guys are living the dream. I could never do that.
This was my dream. Just do it. Life is too short, and you must just enjoy while you can. So this is definitely something you should consider doing. Doesn't matter if you are old or young or
And I think to stop making excuses like, but I've got a family, or because I've got too many responsibilities, because you can in some way make it happen. And I think the key points to get started was just to step one foot in front of the other, because it's all baby steps. I think it's
and also planning a bit ahead. Start building a little business so you don't have to stop because you run out of money, like this type of thing. Just plan a bit or organize yourself, and everyone is able to achieve it.
Yeah, and like you said already, there's so much advice and guidance out there, isn't there? You're kind of not alone when you start, because there are so many different people to learn from and ask questions of.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a wealth of knowledge just through the internet. Facebook groups we joined, Toyota Coaster Facebook group, and there's just so many people on there that it's better than any book that can provide. They've got living experience and the amount of help that if you just ask, it's all out there and you can learn from anyone.
So if for anyone that's listening that is kind of tempted to go down the route of van life, how would you persuade them to do it? Obviously you've just said, look, to get started, just do it and learn and ask questions, but what would you say the best things are about van life to persuade somebody else to go and live that way?
I think just stepping out of the rat race, really, not being dependent on somebody or something, whether that's your boss or a bill that that you need to kind of meet. I think it's just such an experience, and
has it lived up to your expectations in that way then? So being able to step out of the rat race and away from some of the financial ties and stuff.
Yeah, it did, definitely. And I think just having the freedom to be in charge of your own life, it's everything that it does. I mean, there are good and there are bad. You have crappy days where it could rain and you're stuck inside, and there are days that the engine breaks or nothing goes to plan and things like that. So it's not all good. It's not all sunshine and roses. And we really try and explain that to people, through Instagram and, today's a shit day or, whatever. So it's not all what it lives up to be. But in saying that, when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, for us and our experience, I think it's been amazing. Just, I think that it all comes down to having the freedom in our lives, which has just been, the best thing that we could experience.
Yeah, I totally relate to that in terms of the weather. We're living in a static caravan at the moment before we wait to travel, and the weather's been really good the last couple of days, but tomorrow there's going to be gale force winds, heavy rain, probably rain through to Saturday. So we're like, right, we've got some indoor jobs to do. Let's still make the most of it while we can, so that we're not tearing each other's hair out and stuff like that. So I guess it's quite a bit about adaptability as well, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. And things might not always go to plan, or if you plan things and then it's just because at the end of the day, like, the outdoors is your lounge room, so it is very weather dependent. We are lucky, obviously, in Australia that it does the sun shines a lot. So props to you guys doing it over there, because it does rain a lot in the
Yes.
Yeah, we can't wait to head south. As soon as we're allowed, we still hope to kind of resurrect this time off we've got together and be able to travel south. We're going to head to Portugal straight away, which is where my sister lives, and hopefully by then there'll be some nice sunshine there. So
So baby Ollie's been sat here waiting patiently to ask his question. So he wants to know, have you seen many small children on the road while you've been traveling?
Absolutely.
Small children, yes.
It's so common, actually. And it's crazy because there's a family that we know quite well, and they've got 3 children that live in the bus the same size as their house. Actually, no, they just sold it. They did travel Australia. They just sold it and they're upgrading. But, we've come across families with 5 kids, 3 kids, 2 dogs. Crazy. The amount of people that are actually realizing, especially for kids, the amount of education and the learnings, by living on the road, is they're just living life to the max, having such a different type of education, and it's just, it's priceless.
Yeah, we definitely can't wait to take Ollie out on the road with us, and he's 6 months old this Friday. So, I mean, by the time we get on the road, hopefully he'll be close to learning to walk and stuff. So, yeah, we can't wait for what those adventures might bring. So, fingers crossed we get moving soon. Final question for you guys. How can people follow your adventures? What are the best social media networks for them to find you on?
So we mainly just have our Instagram. We have our Facebook, but we don't really use it that much. So our Instagram is Breeze of the Bus. So it's at BRISATHEBUS. And that's our main handle that we really use often. Amanda's one is mainly in Portuguese for her business. So I'd say that the bus Instagram would be where everyone can find us.
Okay, fantastic. We'll put those links in the show notes. And just a final kind of thing from us, Natalie and Amanda, thanks so much for being our first international podcast guests. Can't wait.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Can't wait. Yeah, that's cool. And thank you so much for putting the time aside. There's a massive time difference, isn't there? So for us, it's 25 to 12, 25 to midday here. What time is it there with you?
It's
almost 11.
Yeah, no, 10:38.
10:38. Right, that'd be my bedtime if I was over there. So
Yeah,
we really appreciate you guys putting the time aside, and I know you're with friends at the moment, so thanks for taking your time out from being with your friends as well. Appreciate you sharing the story. Can't wait for us to put it live, and hopefully we can encourage more people to follow you as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
Awesome. Thank
you for
so much
inviting
having
us.
Thank you so much.
And I see you on the road.
Yes, hopefully.
Thank you once again for listening to our podcast. We hope that Natalie and Amanda's adventures have inspired you to maybe drive off into the sunset.
Yeah, I'd love to drive off into the sunset. We can't even drive off into the rain at the moment. This podcast, again, I really enjoyed it, and there was so much that I learned from the couple. One big thing, I think it was really nice to hear from kind of a digital nomad, someone who's making their living on the road by selling online ebooks and things like that. So really nice to hear that is possible, and they're doing it and being successful. What about you?
I think it's such a strain on a new relationship as well, kind of living in such a small confined space, and how they've made it work, how they seem to thoroughly enjoy each other's company, which is obviously the same for us. But yeah, when we first got together, I couldn't imagine saying, "Hey Al, come on, let's move in the van."
Yeah, I think they were really honest with the fact that, look, van life or bus life isn't this, rose-tinted spectacles all the time. When the weather's bad, you are thrown together in a really small space, and you really need to like each other and get on with each other. So that is something to think about, I guess, if you are thinking of doing van life as a couple. Great if you're solo, though, I bet.
It's going to be great fun with the four of us.
Oh, God. We'll see what happens. Anyway, moving on.
If you enjoyed this episode, we'd be very grateful if you could share it with your friends and family so that we can reach more people with these amazing stories. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode.
You can also follow our own adventures by connecting with our website and social media channels. Links are in the show notes. And feel free to reach out and say hello. We'd love to know what you think of our podcast so far, and also where you're listening from.
So that's it for now. Look forward to connecting with you on the next show. Take care and stay safe, everyone.